let's please bring to the stage Mr. Steve Stevens and Billy fucking Idol. Woo! Yeah. Woo. Wow. It's amazing. Um, I don't know where to really even start because there's such a great story, but most of the people, how many saw the documentary? Were a lot of you in here for the documentary? It's absolutely amazing. And let me just ask that, and then we'll talk about music. But the documentary, I asked you backstage, are you happy with the way that it turned out? Because I know you never know about those kinds of things.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, yes, I'm happy with it. I mean, you can't really tell your own story, so I think we had to have, Tony James from Generation X and other people, Steve or other people, kind of telling you about my life, really, because obviously I could tell you, but it's almost better if you get other people. Everybody's got a Billy Idol story. That's the other thing.
I'll tell you the thing I loved about it was that it's not only a history of you guys' lives, but it's also literally the history of music as we know it today, which is MTV. I mean, you literally, somebody in the doc, I think, called you like the Frank Sinatra of the MTV era. You were like
Frankenstein, I think,
yeah.
actually.
But you were actually the legend. It's so cool. Okay, I got to talk about. I mean, I have to ask. Just being part of a duo for a long time with my partner Terry Lewis. Talk about just how you guys met, and back in the day, what brought you guys together so beautifully.
Well, I'd come to New York to start a solo career after Generation X. My punk rock group kind of broke up. And I had an American manager, Bill O'Coin, he managed Kiss. And so he was in New York, based in New York, and he knew the New York scene. He actually knew Steve. He'd been watching Steve's career. He didn't manage Steve, but he knew Steve. And he told me right from the start that he thought we'd be a great combination. And once I met Steve, and then I found out what a great guy he was just meeting him. We had a great first meeting, and then just deciding to play together really and see what happens. We stayed together now 44 years or something. So
It's crazy. I love that.
Yeah, I kind of, when we met, I had, from the time I went to the high school performing arts and the Fame School, dropped out, didn't graduate, dropped out, started playing in bands, and I knew just about every musician in New York, in Manhattan at that time. So I was crafty. I said to Billy, even if you don't choose me as a guitar player, I know all the musicians, so I'll help you audition everyone else. I know the bass player, the drummer, and then if you would just consider me as the guitar player, and that's and by that time we kind of got to know each other and got to, although we grew up, an ocean apart, we kind of grew up on the same music. I wasn't a part of the '77 punk thing in England, but at the during my senior year in high school was CBGBs. So I saw all those Talking Heads, television, and all that. So there was kind of, and we had, once we kind of, talked about our record collection, Sweet and Slade and all this kind of, Bolin and all that. We kind of went, oh yeah, and Lou Reed, that was the other one. So I think that was, Billy said, hey, do you know Coney Island Baby? And I said, I started to play the solo. He went, you know that. So it was just a matter of finding mutual, ground as well.
That's great. And did you guys immediately start writing together and creating together when you started?
well, as Steve was saying, I had an EP that I'd put out that I'd done in Los Angeles with
Like
Keith.
4 songs, right?
Yeah,
Something like that? Yes.
EP. Yeah, it's called "Don't Stop." We put "Dancing with Myself" on it, and I done it in LA here with Keith Forsey, but I didn't have a band. We just used a few people Keith knew. So that's what I kind of said to Steve. Maybe I need to put a band together for this EP, that I've got. maybe if we put a band together and we just see how it goes really. And then, well, it went really well. That's once I really saw what Steve could do as well. I mean, I knew anything I wanted to do, I could do it and then with Keith Forsey as well, him producing, I just knew we had this sort of triumvirate that ended up really fueling the Billy Idol of the '80s. It really just that was the triumvirate that really worked. So we just stayed together really, and that's the way it's been for a long time.
It's always interesting when you work with, and I find this as a producer myself, when you get with certain artists, and it's basically limitless what they can do. So there's no limits. You know, you don't have the you don't have to live up to anything. You just know that it's going to be correct, whatever it is you do. You mentioned, we were talking backstage about Keith Forsey, the producer, who was part of Giorgio Moroder's camp, but you made an interesting observation of why you thought he was the right person. It was your love of dance music and all that, putting those things together. That's strategically very cool. Talk about that just a little bit, just your thought on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously I was part of the punk rock movement in England, but it didn't mean that you weren't listening to dance music or reggae or whatever. I was listening to all sorts of music. And I was, and that was the other thing, going solo. I knew I could expand. Now I didn't have to listen to the three other guys telling me what they want to do. You know, it was really all down to me. So I knew I wanted to sort of combine the sort of synthesizer world with the rock world, the guitar world, or the dance world, the disco world with the punk world or whatever. I just wanted to put a number of different things together. Because we'd grown up basically with eclectic albums. I think most of the people we loved, even if you think about the Velvet Underground, you think of them as, you know, this crazy Sister Ray, but they did other, ballads and things. It wasn't all just waiting for the man. There's some beautiful songs Lou Reed wrote. So that, even groups like that, they went all over the map. And I think that when I saw what Steve could do, I knew with Keith Forsey and Steve, I knew I could. I'd already started doing that with the first EP, but I knew I could really go all over the map with musically. I could go anywhere I wanted, and that's kind of what I did, ever since. And we were already kind of doing that already with Generation X, because even though we were a punk band, we still kind of pushed against the boundaries of punk, if you know what I mean. We didn't just stay confined to punk. We sort of pushed against it a bit, broke some of the punk rock rules. And then coming to America and working with Steve, I could see the sort of like this future opening up that was so incredible. And when it actually happened, it was pretty amazing.
So you go from the EP, 4 songs, and now you have to make that album. Is there a pressure at that point of trying to follow something up, or were you just like enthused, like, oh no, let's go for it? I know what this needs to be on this next round.
Well, I'd had this massive sort of Dancing with Myself, a song I'd done with Generation X, Gen X actually, was a massive hit on the sort of underground new wave dance chart. That's what I found out when I got to New York. I found out one night that, people dance to Dancing with Myself. They put it on for 20 minutes in somewhere like Danceteria in New York, and then people just go crazy for 20 minutes to it. And I'm just going, I've got to follow. This is what I've really got to follow up. And I didn't really do it. I didn't really follow it up until I wrote the song "Why Wedding." That's what really followed Dancing with Myself up. And that was what was on the first Billy Idol solo album. Right. And it was this kind of combination of me discovering that I could follow Dancing with Myself up, but also putting it together with Steve and Keith Forsey. It was just, we had this kind of idea that we knew we could expand over the course of a few albums, and it would really be exciting.
Steve, when you guys write together, do you feel, who does what, and do you feel inspired? Like, I know when I'm with certain people, I just feel like so inspired to write for them. I just feel like I get it. Is that how you feel like when you write with Billy? Do you feel just that?
Well, it's almost you have to This is a problem I have with guitar players. They don't learn the lyrics. So it's the first thing I always do is, because that's your blueprint. And I almost look at playing guitar as being, like a film score or something. It's tap into the lyrics, tap into the emotion, and we've always had this kind of, I don't know, it's never the same. Every song is different, but it usually starts with a conversation and what's going on in your life. Oh, I've got this thing. Eyes Without a Face is a perfect example of that. Musically, it's kind of like 50s doo-wop, And then Billy had these lyrics, and I went, oh, maybe this chord will go there. And I don't know, I'm able to sense an emotion behind it. And I never have the agenda. Well, first of all, the guitar is a vehicle to tell the story. And I'm not one of those guitar players that waits for 3 minutes in for my moment of glory with the solo, And when Billy, came up with the Rebel Yell and the whole concept, it was like, man, it can't just be about notes. It's got to be the sonic. That's how I came up with the ray gun kind of thing. It's got to be more than just guitar, whatever it takes. Oh, it's going to be a ray gun or whatever. So I think that's how it works. And a lot of times, that whole motif in White Wedding is Billy wrote that. It's always different, and he loves guitar. And we kind of vibe off that, and we start talking about our favorite guitar players or whatever. But I think that's the main thing is what is the song about? What's the story? What's the where's it going to travel from beginning to end?
It's interesting that you're both musicians. Talk a little bit about when you talk about guitar players that influenced you guys and your style, because you both play guitar. Who would you say is your biggest influences for the both of you? Are they combined, or do you have different ones?
Well, I suppose I like a lot of people who, I like John Lennon and people like that, and Lou Reed and Bowie, of course, David Bowie, Mark Bolan, and but I like a lot of soul music as well, and I liked a lot of Smokey Robinson and people like that, as well as Otis Redding and people. So you're kind of listening to all those sort of different ways of playing and taking it all in and kind of teaching yourself guitar. You're kind of picking up on certain things you're listening to and plugging it in. So it would be a myriad of people that would really influencing you. It wouldn't just be Jimmy Page or, it would be, I don't know, Lou Reed was an interesting guitar player. Just kind of played noise and that, but it was kind of incredible, he always had all the effects built into his guitar, like Bo Diddley, So even Bo Diddley, I think, is incredible. What an incredible idea. Bo Diddley's almost modern music today because it's one thing that just keeps going
over and over,
and it's almost that's what things are like today. It's not so different. So there's so many styles and things that Eddie Cochran or whoever, Buddy Holly, I don't know. There was so many people, and then we were just growing up alongside this kind of music revolution that was going on that had started in the 50s and then was kind of reinvigorated in the 60s, and then punk, I think, was another reinvigoration of it.
Yep. Exactly. Steve, let me ask you the same thing. Just guitar people who influenced your style.
It's wow. We got to open for the Who the other night, and Pete Townsend was certainly a big one because I got an acoustic guitar when I was about 8 years old, but didn't get an electric guitar till I was about 13. So, you couldn't really play Hendrix on an acoustic guitar. Foxy Lady sounded horrible on my $20 guitar, but you could play, any of the things from Tommy or, Pinball Wizard or all of those kind. So Pete and then I loved so I had guitar teachers, right? And this is like before, obviously before the internet. So you learn a bit of classical, or had a flamenco teacher, and all these kind of, and you know, you listen to the Beatles records, and as a guitar player, you go, where are these ideas coming from? They're not just Chuck Berry things. So when I heard some of the progressive rock guitar players, they were applying in the context of a song a little bit of classical guitar, a little bit of, and obviously, like, you know, Robert Fripp or someone like that was a big influence because he was able to kind of. I love any guitar player that takes the guitar out of the world of the guitar, and Hendrix did that certainly.
Obviously. Yeah, that's great. When you guys, now the balance between, I always find it, I never had the problem of worrying about trying to sing because I can't sing, but the whole idea of.
I didn't worry about that either.
I was just going to say, though, the balance between, because it was a nonstop schedule between the touring and the and making the records. Like, it was a nonstop thing. What would I, you know, in the heyday of it, the kind of the MTV, the beginning of MTV and all of that, just what was that like? I mean, I can't even imagine the touring and all of what was that like, but I mean, it had to be, how'd you keep the energy up to even do that?
I've got a hole in my septum that tells you how I was doing it.
No, nothing.
I think, you know, we were just, we were super excited about what we'd grown up kind of influenced by, and then getting the chance to do it yourself. And then on something like a world stage with the MTV gave you this crazy platform. You could never have imagined really that you'd, you know, be on something like that. I mean, at first, some of the new music, for instance, some of the radio stations, they didn't want to play my music because I had a punk rock image, and they didn't believe that punk rock music sold advertising dollars, you know. So there was a bit of a pushback. Like, we didn't put my picture on the Hot in the City single that we put out. So the radio, it got to number 18. The radio stations knew Billy Idol, but didn't really know what I looked like. Or I'd been on Solid Gold, but I don't know how many people saw that. So they just weren't really aware. You know? But White Wedding, we put my picture. You know, I was obviously a punk rocker. You know, and they didn't want to play it. But the radio, the college radio, and then MTV, and then, you know, the people phoning up, seeing, either hearing on college radio or watching MTV, the beginning of it, it gave us this platform that broke through any kind of stranglehold. Like, anybody who didn't want to play the new music, well, they soon found out it did sell advertising dollars, and all the kind of barriers fell away, and that was super exciting to go through that. You know, go through where there is this barrier, and you don't know if it's gonna go away or not. But then you watched it fall, and you watched the sort of power of the television, you know, telling the radio what's going to happen. It was kind of fun. And it was so exciting, really. That was the thing. And I think you can even see from the documentary that we were having a whale of a time, one way or another, because we kind of live in our dream.
I always said I got into it for fun. That's why I got into it. And so the fun seems to be that you're still having fun, which is really cool. I mean, it's a lot of fun to look back on all the great things that you've done, but it seems like you're just as excited, and probably even more so, about what you're doing now. Talk about this beautiful album that you have. And one of the things I like about it was that it seems very intentional to me as an album. In the sequencing of the songs, it kind of tells a story. And it's probably an album that you couldn't have done 10 years ago. You probably wouldn't have done that album. But this album for you right now seems like the perfect thing. And I know you're proud of it, so talk about that a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, why is it called Dream Into It? Well, you know, really my whole life I've seen things. It was either the Beatles on, you know, Hearing She Loves You, or whatever it was that I bought She Loves You when I was 7 years old. I really loved the what was going on in England, the Beatles and the Stones, and it was so exciting, and then sort of dreaming about this music revolution that you're watching going on, and just, you know, but you're dreaming about being part of it, and then gradually over time, going from being a fan to sort of actually pushing the glass yourself was like, can we really do this? are they going to let us do this? And then they would, and they did let you do it. But there was a little bit of struggle. You had to struggle a bit to find those notes you're looking for, to find those words, to find how you feel. And that's what I did. I would dream into things. And that's why I called the album Dream Into It, because I was bouncing off the fact we were making this documentary, The Billy Idol Should Be Dead. And when we came to record the album, I couldn't help but sort of just bounce off my sort of first half of the album's kind of about my early life, and then the second half of the album's about today, really, about me today. So I still feel that you're still finding things to sing about, you're still finding the world exciting, and there's still an answer that music gives you somehow. There's an answer to it all that it gives you. It's given us a life, I think, as well, a life that we sort of hoped we could have, being part of this music revolution and helping to push the glass. You know.
That's beautiful. Recording today versus recording back in the day. One of the things that the documentary talks about is the change from, obviously, analog, where we all started and all of that, but being able to actually make music on a computer and do all that. You guys have never seemed to run away from technology in any sense of the word. You've always kind of embraced it. So talk about this album and how much was technology, maybe a record that you wouldn't have made back in the day. How does that work now, though, to make a record in the studio?
Yeah, in some respects important, but the thing that we wanted to establish was we were going to have the same drummer and bass player on the record, so it felt cohesive like a band. I mean, Josh Freese, one of the greatest drummers of all time, and Chris Chaney on bass, and they were also, they're mates of ours, friends of ours, so we brought them in, and I think, I don't know, Billy's really we call it the punk police, but he's really good at, if there's a bit of a guitar solo that don't erase that first idea, and I'm always like, I can do it better. There's some real stinkers in there. And you learn to love that initial flying by the seat of your pants thing. So one thing you can do is you don't lose that initial thing. And if there's a couple of mistakes, you can, now with Pro Tools, you can go in and edit those couple of notes or, change them. But really, we still try and get a performance. I mean, all of the vocal performances are from the beginning of the song to the end. It's not really any different than it ever was, the process of doing it. Yeah. And then, another thing is with this record, we worked with some young cats. So
who'd you work with? Talked about the people that you worked with on this.
So, yeah, you can... Yeah.
Well, it's great to Tommy English. These guys were younger than us. The album before that we made, Kings and Queens of the Underground, everybody was older than us. Right. So it's kind of fun. Everybody was younger than us, or the similar age or something. But we've never, like you said, we've never run away from technology. I think that was a big part of sort of going solo, was I knew I could bring the synthesizer world into my music as much as the guitar. And then when with the sort of cyberpunk world starting to happen, the internet, I mean, I definitely embraced the Pro Tools, this idea that you could record at home, you could make albums at home, because we made this album, most of it was done in the producer's, he's got like a little room on attached to his house. I don't think it's even 100% soundproofed, I don't think. But so it's kind of, you're doing it, rather like I made the Cyberpunk album in my house, actually in an upper room with it was, and this is what we were kind of doing with this album. It wasn't so different. We were using sort of a lot of modern technology, but then we would go into a studio and run it through analog. Yes. The warmth of analog is beautiful. So we're kind of trying to get the best of all possible worlds, really, one way or another. And then working with these young guys, Tommy English, producing and writing songs as well, and then Joe Janiak, a songwriter, and Nick Long. We really helped to, because one thing we knew we had to do was the album had to seem fresh. It couldn't seem like regurgitated secondhand ideas. It had to hit you that it was fresh. These ideas are fresh, and we couldn't just be kind of repeating ourselves. I mean, obviously, something like Still Dancing does have echoes of Rebel Yell. You're still going to get that, but I think it sounds fresh. You know, it's like a fresh version. And most of the rest of the album, there's a lot of touchstone things about it that you can look back in our history, or even Steve's guitar playing, and there's little bits and pieces of the first album. There's little bits and pieces of Kings and Queens of the Underground. There's all the Steves, as I've said. All the Steves are on the record, and all the Billies are on the record as well, because we've got different personas we can bring into it after all this time of working with ourselves, you know.
What was really cool, though, was that although these collaborators were young, we always, felt like an album should take you on a bit of a journey. So each song doesn't have to be the same, because that's what we grew up with. The Beatles records were like, every song was really different in its own way. And these young guys are such Beatles fans, so they were like cool with that idea. Oh, if I'm going to work on a new song, it doesn't have to sound the same we can reinvent each song.
Well, the interesting thing too is these guys were just a little bit, they were kind of they're probably approaching like 35, 40 or something, but they knew as much we'd grown up with the music, but they knew as much about the rock and roll or dance music or whatever as us, and they must have had to learn about it, but they just knew. There's so many times they'd be, talking about certain albums, certain sound effects and things, where you're going like, wow, these guys, they really know their stuff. Yeah. And we live.
They sit and watch YouTube and watch all this stuff, and they're like, have you seen that first time someone's, that performance and like, yeah, I just watched it on YouTube. And so it's universal, man. The history of music is there's so much to draw on. It's great.
I love that. Just last question on that, because that's fascinating to me. How did you find your younger collaborators? How did that come together? How did you guys find each other?
Well, how did we? We didn't have a producer really, and after Kings and Queens, we worked with Trevor Horn on Kings and Queens of the Underground, right. And that was a great experience because he's a fantastic producer. Yes. I mean, he's incredible. But we just sort of felt like, maybe this time we'll work with someone, like I said, somebody younger than us, and see what happens. Somebody maybe that not quite so well known, somebody that we could bring them along with us. But at the same time, these guys have worked on a lot of modern music, and they're on a lot of artists I've never heard of in lots of ways, but they're just as big in their own world as we are in ours. And it's so putting the two worlds together really worked. And I think we got what we're looking for. We got fresh ideas or fresh feelings with the songs. So even if we are replicating some ideas, they seem to come out fresh. It's just what happened.
I love that. Well, I just like the process of production, obviously, because I'm a producer, but that's why I was curious, because to me, that's such a big choice to make when you're going kind of sort of outside maybe your comfort zone, but it sounds like it turned out wonderfully. I love the record. And we were talking backstage that the end title on the documentary, I love, and there's kind of two versions of it. There's the one in the documentary and the one that's on the album. But I told you, I think, the one on the documentary, I think would make a great dance record. I'd love to, I might steal that and do something with it.
Well, I'd love to hear that too.
It's pretty cool.
I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, I was thinking that as I was doing it. You guys you're taking a break from tour just for a second, but how's it feel now touring? You have this whole catalog of beautiful material and a new album. How has the tour been thus far? And then I know you guys are going to do more dates, but talk about that. I know you just did a date at the Forum, which everybody's raving about. Anybody went to the Forum date? Awesome. Talk about it. How's it feel to be back on the road again doing this?
Well, it's going incredibly well. I mean, because we can mix and match with the old music, and the new music goes together really well. And almost, I don't know, the songs power each other. They seem to reflect off each other nicely. Where I don't know, it just seems like there's not a down moment in the set, and it's just gone so extremely well. And the band we've got, everybody is really a team player. That's a fan. So there's no dead weight. There's nobody dragging it down. Because, you get one person not pulling their weight, it can really drag everything down. There's nothing like that going on. Everybody's on it. And so every night I feel like I'm surfing on this incredible wave or I'm riding this incredible Aston Martin that's going faster than anything. It's just this power machine, and it's an incredible feeling, and it's like you get high every night. And it's a natural high that you can replicate when you play again. It's not some sort of drug or something. It's a natural high. That's been fantastic. So it's just been going incredibly well. In fact, I'm almost surprised. Wow, we've done quite a few shows now, and I still feel sort of fresh. I don't feel burnt out. So that tells you a lot,
Yeah. And you're going to continue on the road into next year, right? Where all are you going? Talk to a little bit.
I think November we're going to South America, okay. And then hopefully in the new year we'll be going to Australia, New Zealand.
Awesome. I think we have some Australian fans in the crowd for sure. It might sound a little weird, but what is there that you still want to do that you haven't done yet? Because there's a bright future ahead of you. Have you thought about what the next things you want to do are, or if there's anything out there? And I really, for both of you guys.
I've really just been enjoying where we're at the moment. Obviously, I've started a little bit thinking about where are we going to go next, but I haven't really 100% overthought that yet, because I've still sort of, enjoying. We're still sort of coming to grips with presenting the Dream Into It album. But I just know when we do face that moment, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see where we go, because this has been very exhilarating and it's been a positive experience, and all that is going to end up playing into the next thing we do. It's just going to power the next thing.
Yeah, I think one of the great things is this tour that we're currently on. There's a lot of new technology involved in it that I wasn't even prepared for. Like, I came up with the idea for this. We've always had a really good intro, musically, and the visual company that we worked with has synced that to this intro. We have one of the best intros ever. If anybody's seen it at the show, it really sets you up. And I kind of it was a light bulb moment for me. I went, we could do more of this kind of stuff. And I think that's where live performance is happening, where you're using more of the visual media to enhance it. Billy's such an iconic person, and there's so much to draw on. There's such a, it's like, that's the way I'm looking at it. Is like, more and more of the visual stuff to accompany the music in the future. And you don't know what albums are, can be like. With I think it's still that idea that, when I first met you, you were at the forefront of those really good videos. Certainly, yeah. The first time I saw Dancing With Myself video, I was like, what the fuck is that? Zombies and, right. And it was like, nobody had done that, and I think that's still the thing. We're still excited about that aspect of it.
One day I'll pick up my guitar and I'll start singing, and I'll get a new feeling, and that will be the beginning of the next record. That's what happens. You get suddenly something about your voice connects to what you're doing, and you get this that's good. And once you've got that, you hold on to it and you work it, and and then you get together with your mate and you work it some more, and then eventually with the producer, and it's exciting. It's just really exciting. It's part of the dream. It's part of dreaming into it.
I love that you guys are together, and like I say, it's very near and dear to my heart that you're not only obviously best friends, but also such a creative, beautiful collaboration together. And we get the chance tonight to see you do it in an intimate setting, acoustically. Talk about doing this versus, a big stadium or a big arena. Is there pleasure in doing both things? What do you like?
Yeah, it's not so different, really. And funnily enough, sometimes when it's a smaller audience, you have to almost work harder in a way. It's a whole different thing. The great thing about a lot of the songs is that they started out a lot of times on acoustic guitar. I don't know. That's just I sometimes write on a acoustic guitar, or back in the day an unplugged electric. Sometimes, funnily enough, and just like I say, searching for that ooh moment where you go like, oh, hey. I could take this to Steve, this idea. So yes, I'm just going to wait for that, and something will happen too. Something always happens in my life that will stir the thoughts. That's just what you're waiting for it to happen a little bit. In the old days, we used to try and speed life up so that experiences happen, so you have things to write about. But we've lived a long time now, so there is a lot to mine.
I love that. I just have to tell you what a pleasure it is for me to be sitting with you guys today. You guys are so much. I was mentioning to you guys backstage that I started back with the Time back in like '81, I guess, and we kind of grew up together, watching each other in that, and I'm so proud and so glad that we're all still sitting here. We're still blessed to still be sitting here and making music that we absolutely love to do. And you guys being together is the greatest thing. I'm still with my partner, Terry, and there's nothing better than making music like that. So I just want everybody in the room to just really feel how beautiful this is, how lucky and privileged we are to have these fine gentlemen here with us this evening. And as much as we've enjoyed the conversation, they're going to bless us with some beautiful music. All right? So, from me to you guys, I just want to thank you very much. And I say, let's get to some music. Is that okay with everybody? All right. Let's do it. Thanks, you guys.